Guys, I've got an idea. Ooh, what is it? So people love iPhone 10 right? Well, it
Good
does
morning,
have
good
an
morning.
incredible camera. And it comes.
See what it do. See who's winning out here. All right, peace. Good morning, Sister Carla. How you doing? All right. Good morning, good morning. Teron, peace. Good morning. Just waiting for a couple more folks to get on here and we get it cooking. Okay. They just installed a new mayor in Brockton after the past mayor died. So now they have a Cape Verdean mayor in there. I'm trying to see how he was selected. Like, was he okay, yeah. He was a Brockton city councilor, so now he's the mayor. All right. We're just gonna wait for a couple more folks to get on here. We can get it popping. Peace, Rich. Peace, Brother Mike. Chris. Patrick Wilson. Peace. Shout out to Chris Ferrone for the mug. Binge. Boston Institute for Nonprofit Journalism. Check them out. They do a lot of good work. Investigative reporting for us. Good morning, good morning. Well, let's get it cracking. So, black male leadership. So if everybody is peeping, there has been a rise of, woman power, right? Black girl magic, black woman magic, right? Which is great. I super duper love it. I'm a fan of the black woman. And so we have a rise in power, political power, business, so on and so forth, of women in general, but black women and Latina women in particular, which is great. So I don't want anybody to get this twisted, thinking like I'm against that. No, see, I'm not a either or guy. I'm an and both, right? So now what I'm talking about is the state of black male leadership. Who are the black male leaders? Pardon me, y'all. I just got out the shower. That's not Jerry Curl juice. Who are the black male leaders in Boston? And when I say leaders, let me do some definition. I don't mean like, certain people have been like, well, Brother Jamal, you're a leader. Ixnay on that. I have never purported to be a leader, community leader, anything like that. When people often, if I'm on the radio or something like that, people often ask me like how to describe myself. And I'm just like, I'm just a dude from Roxbury. I mean, whatever you want to put. I mean, whatever, activist, organizer, I guess that's okay, whatever. But like, I'm not into this whole thing, so a leader. So not the loose definition, right? Because, everybody's a leader, right? Coach Wilson, who just passed away, rest in peace. He was a leader. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about leadership in a role for leadership with an infrastructure that supports leadership, like an elected official who holds elected office, like, a major, business, captain of industry, a major nonprofit, something like that. So let's talk about black male leadership, and then let me do another couple of things. In this city and across the country, but particularly in this city, You hear how I'm talking now, like regular black man voice talking, and I don't have to be. I'm not talking about street slang and all that. I'm not talking, yo, what's happening, what's the sound? You know, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about regular, comfortable black male speaking tone, right? You just talking regular, no slang, whatever. You know, the way someone would talk on a job or what have you, what have you. Okay. Now, when we look at those who have been thrust in leadership position or accepted in leadership position or what have you, you'll notice that tone changes. And often it begins to sound a little bit like this. See, the thing is that we're dealing with a complex series of issues, and what we need to do is we need to find out solutions to these very complex problems and it gets into that, right? Comedians used to do jokes about it, right? Like Eddie Murphy, in the famous movie. We're not going to be falling for a banana in the tailpipe. Oh, man, come on, brother, put some bass in your voice. We ain't going to be falling for no banana in the tailpipe. So, I make a joke with that, but there is a correlation to, first of all, it's code switching and all that, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And, some dudes just, they don't talk like that. That's how they really talk or whatever. I don't know. But a lot of times it is, can be an example of somewhat of a castration, a social, cultural, mental castration, if you will. Where in order to survive, many men have had to adopt, many black men have had to adopt an appearance of docility. Okay. They like big black guys as long as you do the Shaquille O'Neal route and you do everything to diminish your bigness, right? And you become the jolly giant, right? We've seen this 100 times, and I'm about to give y'all some real examples because we know this. So, for instance, let's start off with our former governor, Deval Patrick. Let's take Obama as well. Obama talked a little bit more regular. But do you think Deval would have gotten to be governor of Massachusetts if he talked like a regular black man? Like, I'm not saying, he's supposed to show up places and be like, show enough, you dig? You jive turkey? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about with a regular voice that had more bass in it. And it's not so nasal. See, what happens is they replace the bass with this nasal tone. And then you start getting this. And, we all know it and whatnot. People are uncomfortable talking about it, but, I have no problem. So we're talking about race. We're talking about manhood and all this. So now, once again, put the lens on. Who is our black male leaders? Like, who's, our Mike Tyson of leadership? Where's, like, that uncompromising black male voice? And once again, I'm not included in this. I'm talking about leadership with a mechanism and infrastructure of leadership. Where are our strong black male captains of industry, right? Running these businesses or what have you, who speak out unabashedly on behalf of the black community when a situation pops up? Like, where are these people? Where is the black man who leads whatever, the civic organization, the civil rights organization, the nonprofit, whatever, who's constantly speaking out on behalf of the plight of black people and taking it right to the palaces of power? Who are our black leaders? Name them, please. Help me. Like, let's develop a list. And I'm like literally serious, because what we'll find is there ain't none. Ain't none. Black male leadership in this city has been summarily eradicated, right? And certainly marginalized to a point that is no more. Now, we look back. We can go and talk about, black male leadership in this city, and you could look at, the history of the who's who of, quote unquote, who came through, and it's all male dominated. Male dominated, so for years, if there was a city councilor or somebody in the state house as an elected official, it was always a male, right? And we went from, let's say, the Mel Kings, the Senator Owens, right? Take that era, right? Strong black men. And even though Mel, I don't want to say Mel was ever hood. Mel, but Mel, was a man's man, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, the overalls, the dashiki, you know what I mean? The beard, whatever. Senator Owens with the mutton chops, you know what I mean? I mean, these dudes was like, men, like you could relate to them. This is like your father, your uncle, you know what I mean? Whatever these, like not these strange type of newfangled dudes. And so we gave way from the Mel Kings and the Senator Owens and the Chuck Turners, even dudes like Tito's father, Kwaku, right? Kwaku Jackson, that style of men leadership and da-da-da. And then it gave way to a new thing. And, we'll put Tito in there, to the Deval Patricks, the Titos of the world. It's a very, it's a softer, gentler tone. It's very, it's capitulating. It's definitely not, it's not aggressive. It's not assertive. And so, these are the arguments I used to have, when discussing, people such as, Michael Curry, former, Boston chapter president of NAACP, because, people for years, had this, whatever, talking about this beef thing between he and I. But it really wasn't a beef. It was really, a vision for how we move and get the community to move forward. Now, people like him, people used to be like, oh man, y'all just like Malcolm and Martin. And I would always be like, yeah, Malcolm. And so I'm guessing I'm Malcolm in that scenario. And he's Martin. But they was talking about Martin Luther King. I be talking about Martin Lawrence, right? Because don't do that. Because no, these people are not even, people want to do like the Malcolm, like he was the radical revolutionary, and then the King was like the soft shoe. And then when they do that, they'll put, the soft shoe person in that position. But that soft shoe person, please, couldn't hold a candle. Martin Luther King was on some gangster stuff. Okay? Death threats, all that, going to where the Klan said, boy, you better not be, and all that. The sort of these newfangled people I'm talking about, they're not built like that. Klan would have said, boy, you better not. Oh, okay. Before they could even finish giving the order. Oh, that's the ones I'm talking about. So, this new style of black male leadership, which is the only one that is really accepted into the nonprofit world, because like these nonprofit organizations or big corporations, they don't want to deal with nobody like me. So this is why even when we're talking about holding these entities accountable, when you're talking about, let's say, like the Red Sox and the whole Yawkey thing, when all that was going on, nobody's trying to bring nobody like me in the conversation, because you can't buy me. I'm not scared. You ain't gonna do nothing. And I'm gonna spit the real Willie Bobo. And this is what I said the other day. Like, I am a hustler of a commodity that nobody wants no more, which is the raw, funky truth. Okay? So, I'm like a pork salesman in a Muslim country, right? I just moved to a Muslim country and my entire business is selling pork, right? So that's oftentimes how I feel, trying to deal with some of these issues here in Boston. But there is no lane. The corporation, I could tell y'all just briefly. So I was brought into a room one time talking about race in Boston. And first of all, most people there don't know nothing about race. They never studied it, whatever. Whereas me, I know a little bit. And in my universe, I don't ever try to act like I'm a doggone guru, right? But I know a little bit, right? And in this conversation with race, the white people, their whole job is to wiggle out of the conversation on race. We don't need to hear that. We don't need to recap the history. Oh, we already know the history. And I'm like, excuse me? No, you don't know the history. No, you don't. You little parochial school educated Boston. You know what I mean? These white people tap out. They think, first of all, they think they know Martin Luther King and like Rosa Parks or something and Frederick Douglass. And then they tap. And they don't even really know those real stories. They know the Hallmark card, the Cliff Note versions of it, right? So that's the type of stuff that people be trying to run. And then these white people get to run with it like, oh, like it's all good. Like, oh, yeah, race is all good because the people in the room ain't pushing that envelope all the way. So that the real black men get filtered out, pushed by the ways. So when they have all these conversations, they fill the room, they stack the deck. It's like if I was a boxing trainer and I got my champion boxer, right? And I can pick all his fights. I only pick the fights that I know he can win. I'm only going to match him with fighters that I know he can beat, right? And that's what this city does. That's what this city does. They don't want to hear from nobody who could really challenge they bullcrap or really know more than them. So we have effectively been cut out of black male leadership. Now peep this too. Meanwhile, we got somebody like Ayanna, right? And Ayanna is spitting in flames, hot flames, right? She's spitting in flames, right? And people are like, yeah, go. So you tell me, who is our strong speaking black man from Boston? And once again, literally, y'all, I mean, this is an interactive show, y'all. Literally, please. I want to see, like, shoot me like who you think are the black male leaders in Boston. And then I break it down. I could tell you, based on the criteria that I'm saying, the only one is Russell Holmes, right? Who's a state rep. And God bless Russell and all that. But see, once again, when I say, see, perfect example. Umar Johnson, of course, you being funny, that don't count. I'm talking about for Boston. But Kevin Peterson, somebody might say leadership, but once again, I'm talking about that has an infrastructure, right, to support their vision of leadership. I'm sure Kevin, to a certain degree, views himself as a community. He may be like me. He might not like that term. He might say activist, whatever, organizer, whatever. But not a leader. I mean, he has a new democracy coalition, but that's his thing that he created. That would be like me. Like people be like, oh, Jamal, well, you have a newspaper. That's very, I don't really have any delusions of grandeur. Me and Melvin Miller are not peers. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he has a newspaper. A newspaper comes out every doggone week since 1960 something. That's a newspaper, right? I have put out newspapers before, and I have a thing called the Blackstonian, which if you go to the website, you see I don't even spend time updating it no more because nobody cares. Nobody cares. All sorts of information we don't put out there forever, and not for nothing. The people who paid the most attention to the Blackstonian was A, white people, B, journalists, C, police, and D, the government. Okay, you need money and to own your own, and you can say what you want. Ownership for black men. I mean, I'm there. I guess you're there, but that's not what I'm talking about either. And that's kind of what the false vision of what I've been seeing a lot of lately, where people are just like, I created my own Boston and all. Well, damn, you created your own Boston. That's wonderful. Life is great for you because you got a job or something. Sucks for the rest of us, though. So when I'm talking about leadership, I'm talking about leadership where people are going to be doing things and speaking to things and planning and issuing proposals to conditions that affect the quality of life for the masses of us. Not just, me and my little homies is out on the vineyard, drinking mojitos or something with an umbrella in it or something. Like, folks really get it twisted. Or think, you get a job or something and now, everything's good because you good. We glad you living your best life and all these little catchphrases, and we glad, you're smiling and you're happy and all that. But think, you getting 80,000, 100,000, 150,000 a year. Great. Now, what if you was making $30,000 a year, like a lot of different people? Would you be so happy and smiley then? Right? Because a lot of this stuff is really, man, I don't know. People don't study, but it's really class. It's about classism, bourgeoisie. It's a whole bunch of like what the Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake and all this type of stuff. They don't let us in, Jamal, because some of us will say what we really think. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I've been let in and then summarily weeded out. Right. Like I say, that conversation on race. I've been to a couple of them. They ain't gonna ask me back. And not for nothing, I have no problem saying, like, is it arrogant that, like, I suggested to the mayor, like, I gave the mayor a book list to share with staff, because it's like, yo, you want to have a dialogue on race, but you don't know enough about it. And if you don't know, like, so for instance, let's do some name dropping. If you don't know who John Henrik Clarke is, we can't talk about race. If you don't know who Sheikh Anta Diop is, we can't talk about race. If you don't know who Dr. Ben Yohanan is, we can't talk about race. If you don't know who Francis Cress Welsing is, we can't talk about race. Right? Now, I could go on and name some others that's a little bit more obscure and whatnot. Ishaka Musa Barashango and others. Those are the main ones, though. Actually, no. Let's do a little bit more. If you don't know a little bit about, like, Chancellor Williams and, like, George G.M. James, all these, like, great historians and whatnot, if y'all look at the book list, or if you go to Frugal or whatever, you could see. But if you don't know about, like, Walter Rodney, how Europe underdeveloped Africa or whatever, we can't have no serious conversation because you don't know nothing. And then once you know that, for instance, once you know how Europe underdeveloped Africa, then you could see what's happening. And you could, you've seen the macrocosm, and now you can put that down to the microcosm. Once you understand that a little bit more, then you can understand what's happening in Boston. And this is why it's a problem for me, because when I'm, attempting to have conversations with some of these folks, many of whom are nincompoops and nitwits, and they the expert on everything and don't know nothing. Some of them I'm talking about just, wannabes and act as ifs, and then others are in, like, government positions. So, for instance, like, once again, let me go back to the mayor. So when the mayor began to have this whole dialogue on race thing, I'm like, sir, all due respect, you're not qualified. You're not qualified. Oh, no, I'm not going to be running. I'm going to have... No, sir, you don't understand. No one on your staff. You don't have anybody qualified. You don't even have anybody qualified to go find somebody qualified. How about that? Because you don't know where to look. You don't know where to look. All right? So people, and then similarly, when they're climbing the ladder, I forgot how to lift up another one. It's called self-defense. It's okay, because how you go. Remember, there's always someone. Remember, there's always someone at the top. Absolutely. But once again, okay, so, these people who climb the ladder, which are mainly women now, once again, because who's climbing the ladder in Boston for black men? Like, who's the main dude? Who's that dude in Boston? Who's getting it? And I don't care. Give me any industry. I don't care. I don't care if it's music. I don't care if it's music. Who's the Boston rapper who's just getting it? He can't go out his house. He's like a local celebrity. Because Ed O.G. is like the closest thing we got to a legend, and he don't got that like that. Nobody cares because it's Boston. Right? They'll do something like, no disrespect to Michael Bivins or whatever. God bless him. Candy Girl, all that. Mayor Walsh, like, gave him the key to the city and did something like he's going to do something with violence. That's dumb. That's dumb. Tell me you're going to put him in charge of, like, arts or something, or, music programs in the city. Something like that. Okay, that makes sense. Basketball. Make him the ambassador of basketball. That makes sense. He going to deal with violence? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And once again, oftentimes, because we're so stuck, like, let's go back again. Let's go back to Tito's mayoral campaign. Let's now imagine that he won. What does Tito as mayor look like for you? Are we better off? What's happening with the police? Because I see Tito is mayor now. Gross probably still would be police commissioner. And they'd probably be doing like disco dance-a-thons in the street or something. I'm not getting the level of seriousness and yeah, that level of seriousness where things are critical, and so we are very sober-minded, we are very clinical, we are deathly serious. I mean, we don't have time for and all the goofy pictures and the dancing and St. Patrick's Day breakfast and all this foolishness, while our people are dying around us, death and destruction everywhere. It's crazy. Yes, Tito is a joke. And once again, too, let me say this. Personally, I do not do this to dog out Tito personally. I have to use examples, and I have to use examples of what we're talking about so that everybody can understand. So, unfortunately, this is the textbook of Boston history, and when I'm going through looking for examples, example 1, figure 1A. Sorry. So this is why I talk about these type of things. But when we're talking about and we're examining black male leadership, these are key and critical points. And not for nothing, a lot of times, Boston, we've done it to ourselves. I ran for office. People were not happy with Tito when I ran for office. I ran for office as city councilor. Granted, it was a write-in sticker campaign, which is always not a good idea. But I thought somebody else was about to run against him who I could have supported, and then that person didn't want to run against him because Tito was supposed to bow out, and he didn't do that. He went for another term, and then that person didn't want to run against them, and it was too late. So I'm like, damn, I can't just let this dude go again unchallenged. So that's why I ran for office and presented a case. People know. Killed him at every debate, any interview. Killed him. You already know. I have a proposal. I have a plan. I had a platform. He did not. Right? Everything that he had said from the beginning was untrue. When he first took over after Chuck, one of the main things that everybody loved about Chuck was him having a district office down Dudley. Tito swore up and down and promised to people that he would maintain an office. Did it ever happen? No. He was there for 6 years. Never happened. Stuff like that. Before, Tito, go Tito. Whatever. And, do the little dances or something. I mean, I ain't got time for that. And so this is what I'm talking about with black male leadership in Boston. What do you want? You want that? You want somebody who plays dress up and does the dances and takes the goofy pictures? Or do you want somebody who is representing your interests like a doggone pit bull and ain't got time for all this foolishness? When we look at our women, we applaud the women for being sick. One of our most beloved politicians ever, Diane Wilkerson. Why? Because she was not playing around. Nose to the grindstone, focused like a laser, boom, on it. Right? One of our most beloved elected officials. Where's our black male? And granted, once again, like I said, we had the Chucks, we had this. Okay, great. Now, what do we got now? In all industries, let's look. In all industries. And let's look, too. Not just politics. Let's look at Melvin Miller. Black man, black paper. Everybody loves this black paper. Do you really read the paper? Because if you really read the paper, you would understand that Mr. Miller holds a lot of views where you might like him. He don't like you too much. He does a lot of that Bill Cosby stuff. You women out there named Shaniqua and you naming your babies, da-da-da-da, pull up your pants and da-da-da-da, all that type of stuff. Really looking down on us, right, as a people. Right, and a lot of it is, once again, from a very bourgeoisie attitude. I got mine, you get yours. If you don't got yours, something's wrong with you because I got mine all by myself. Right, that's a big thing. Everybody thinks they got where they at all by themselves and with no help. Right, and they don't sometimes recognize their own privilege. Right, like for instance, there's female privilege. So for instance, Why do you see more women working in banks and hospitals and stuff like that? Because they're less threatening. Okay? Less threatening. Straight up. You have to look at, for instance, what's happening now. We have no black male voice on the Boston City Council. Right? And, after having, for years, and also, too, women would be like, well, up until whatever that year was when Ayanna first get there, we had no black woman representation. So, see, I'm not either or. I'm and both, right? I want both. I like the female, the black woman representation and the Latina representation. I like that. I'm just saying that now, let's not lose the voice of black men who are primarily, look, Black Lives Matters came to the spotlight on the back of issues dealing with black men. But they don't like live black men. They only like you dead after you got shot by the police. Other than that, chances are you're toxic, you're this, you're that, and it's all problematic. So it's interesting how someone began championing on the black male as a victim of this society, social issues. But then at the same time, there's no room for the black man in that movement or what have you. In this city, I've had to talk to people like a lot of time. Like, yo, ask the mayor. Like, the brothers I've seen on city council are hood and private, and the public are conformers. What brothers on city council you seen? Hood and private. Let's talk about that, bro. So, Charles Yancey, he's not hood. Chuck Turner, he's not hood. Garrett Saunders, certainly not hood. Tito Jackson, not hood. So what are you talking about? City council, hood and private. You may talk about people who ran or running for whatever. Okay, God bless them. But once again, in public, and that's the thing. If you're a conformist in public, I don't need that. I don't need you to. I'll give you an example. I used to work for Garrett Saunders, which was the city councilor before Chuck Turner. A lot of times I like to say I'm the reason we got Chuck Turner, because Garrett Saunders asked me to purchase crack cocaine for him. And I said, man, is you crazy? And, cussed him out and all that, and gave my 2 weeks notice, and then gave him some time to let him know, you better make a decision about your career, because I'm not keeping this no secret. And so whatever, he ended up not running for re-election, getting out of office, whatever. Okay, God. But Garrett was one of those type of people. So behind closed doors, you got to understand, this is city council when it was white power at its heyday. So you talking about Dapper O'Neill, Jim Kelly, and Mickey Roach. Yeah, Jim Kelly and Dapper were really the big ones. But I'm talking about, sometimes it was like literally, y'all, like it was almost like knockdown, drag out fights in there. Okay, like one time when the police and the fire thing, they were debating the affirmative action. Man, it was so hectic in there. I swear to God, y'all, people was like, shoulder checking and elbowing people in the hallway. I was not playing, Jack. I'm telling you, your boy went home and got his knife. This was before metal detectors at City Hall and all that, even though employees don't go through the metal detectors and all that, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to tell you, Jack was up in there with the doinker, because that's how brolic these folks was getting in the hallway. And I was like, yo, one of these folks put their hands on me, I'm stabbing. Okay? In any event, so Garrett was one of these dudes who, these meetings would go on. Dapper and Jim Kelly have said nigger in city council chambers, right? And all manner of other insulting black things. And then Gareth would invariably come back to the office, close the door, and talk a gang of tough guy stuff. Okay? But then, it's like, dude, they just said nigga. Why don't you take that flame out there? We don't need to hear you with the whoo, whoo, whoo. You know what I mean? I hate that. So if they talking real like they down for the cause and they tough and what they would and wouldn't stand for, and I wouldn't go for that, man. You know I ain't going for nothing like that. And they talking that in private, but then they get in city council and it's like, well, I understand that this process must be looked at and da-da-da. Now they switch it up. Well, they ain't no good. They ain't no good. Because you got to be able to stand on your principles when that time comes, when it counts. Brothers that are in political circles talk like they're for us. Once they get in, don't really support our views in them rooms. Okay, right, exactly. But who are them brothers in them political circles? Once again, and this is why I'm saying, like, we need to, anybody that's been in a meeting with me, like, I swear to God, I wish I had video of the doggone, of that first race meeting, the super secret meeting in the, the super private mayor's room, so you could just hear how I talk to white people in general. And I do it purposely. There's a verse in the Bible where it talks about God says, I am no respecter of persons. Yeah, I don't care. You the mayor, you the governor, you a bum, you the king, you the pope. I don't care. If we're talking about an issue, here's the issue. And if we're talking about history, we're talking about him. It doesn't change. The content of the truth does not change based on the audience. Not for me, at least. And as a person who has tried to do this with other brothers before, we've done the Black Men Leadership Breakfast and the Boston Black Men Leadership Group, and always at the behest of somebody else who has this grand vision that says, we're going to pull all these black men together and we're going to do this and that. Bullcrap. You know why? Because cats don't want to do nothing. You know why? Because cats is allergic to work. Cats will do everything but the one thing that is required to get us out the situation, which is work. Cats will talk. They will talk. Talk you to death. Okay? And they will talk big and bad, too, about what they're going to do and whoop, 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 and all this, da-da-da. But at the end of the day, they won't do nothing. If you remember the conversation that I had about violence, right? Folks will spend hours walking. They'll spend hours in the meeting, but won't spend a couple of hours to write down a definitive plan, proposal, policy suggestions. Won't do it. Refuse to do it. Allergic of doing it. And I just give you that example because as a person who's done it before, let's say we did the Black Men's Leadership Group, was like, all right, cool, we're going to divvy up. Okay, so brother, next week you're going to come, you're going to have this report, you're going to do this, you're going to have that. And then, the next week come. You was in a meeting with like 50 brothers, right, with assignments. And then you get to that next meeting and like 3 of them did it. And that's me and 2 others, right? So it gets really whack, y'all. All right. Well, what's the plan? I've said before, I've already put my plan out. It's still on the doggone website, my old campaign website, whatever. That's my plan. But because I'm not a leader, I don't just say, this is how it should be, and y'all follow me. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not looking to start no cult, right? So BostonBlackAgenda.com, BostonBlackAgenda.com. You can go take a look and you can add on your own ideas. But once again, too, it's only as good as how many people participate. So the first time I did this in 2013, I did the Boston Black Agenda. Man, I printed up 10,000 newspapers, 10,000 flyers. Man, I had banners. Man, we hit the streets hard body. Oh, that's not a question, just a statement, bro. Okay, good, thanks. And we hit the streets and whatnot. And like I said, 10,000 newspapers, 10,000 flyers. You know how many responses I got to the Boston Black Agenda? 7. 7. 5 of those from people who are my friends. So at the end of the day, it's not really a Boston Black Agenda. It's a, Jamal and his friends agenda, right? I mean, so this is what, unless we can get something to make, to take hold, where we as a people want ownership of it, we're going to be screwed. We're going to be screwed. And once again, let's look at all the things that we honor and celebrate in our women. Look at, we are praising Ayanna for how strong she is, spitting them flames, speaking truth to power, all that. Where's the black male equivalent of that in a leadership position in any industry in Boston? Who's the man? The black guy. Who's the man in business? Who is the black man who's the man, in healthcare or whatever it is? Just pick one. We are dying. Okay? So in a minute, if you get a black male voice, it's going to sound like this. That's going to be your representation. Okay? So in a minute, we got to really we got a lot of issues, and we really need to think about this. Black male leadership in this city it's dismal. It's dismal. And the ones who would consider themselves leaders, once again, my definition of leadership different. I'm not talking about self-appointed, you the leader in your community, you doing this, you doing that, you doing good things. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a black man who's really running something, running a school, running a nonprofit organization, a business, and not just, I got a business, I got several businesses. That's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Like an industry. Think bigger, right? We don't have it. White people got gazillions in this city, okay? Henceforth, why they can fill up the St. Patrick's Day breakfast. They have the St. Patrick's Day breakfast. We have the Malcolm X breakfast. Big difference in terms of power and the people putting it on, right? Big doggone difference. So we need to think about these things and really put it together and, really try to develop a coalition of the willing. I've always tried to identify powerful brothers. And, when I see brothers that I think I could build with, I reach out. That's also a dismal track record, too. I hate to share to you that most folks don't reach back or nothing because they can't even get through the initial thing. You know what I mean? Everything has to be so congratulatory of ourselves. Like, I could just sit here and tell you all the wonderful things I did and act like I'm the illest thing ever smoking in Boston, right? Or I could recognize that everything that I've done really ain't amount to jack squat, which is why it hasn't moved us forward 1 centimeter. As a people, I've helped some individuals. I've done some things that make me feel good about myself. But that's not what we're trying to do. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to change, like move the needle, right? On the things that affect our quality of life, right? So these are the types of things where, once again, we have to get to. And if we look at what has happened over the past 10 to 15 years, black male leadership in this city has been effectively neutralized, eradicated and neutralized, right? Who is that bad black man, right? Where are they? Because, if we did a list right now, the 10 baddest black women in Boston, we can come up with that, right? So what are we doing? And not for nothing, too, it's funny. I'm looking over here, what was this, 2001? In 2001, the Boston Herald did this thing where me and other people were named, called them the class of 2001. 20 young Bostonians who are making black history right now. Now, when I look up there at who's there, okay, most of the brothers are gone. Like Chip's up there. All right. Rob Sproul, great dude, New England Sweetwater Farm and Distillery. If y'all ain't hip, the only black distillery we have in the country, really. Malia Lazu is up there. So see, if I look at this picture, this is kind of telling. Because first of all, it's mostly women. Latoya Edwards. Most of the dudes have dipped. Like Maurice Coleman, he was a big venture capitalist with the Bank of America. He couldn't stay here. How you going? The fish was bigger than the aquarium. He couldn't stay here. He had to leave here to go to New York. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't do it, right? Tanisha Sullivan's in that picture. When you look at it, it tells a tale. And once again, like I tried to tell the mayor, I vision myself as a canary in the coal mine. Been here several generations, whatever. Jamal Crawford can't make a way in this city. As smart as I am, and there's all these people I know, and da 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 da. I am like the cartoon, baby. I'm drowning, man. Keeping your head above water. That's what I'm trying to do every day. This ain't no, and I mean, most of the uncompromised black men I know with real character and stuff like that, this city has no place for them. Has no place for them. And we've been forced to find a way, make our own way, whatever, because the mechanism here does not support that. And it's sad, really. It's sad because if I was different in any other types of ways, boy, man, this city would love me. If I was gay, this city would love me. Oh, it would love me. The arts community, the whole would love me, love me, love me. Okay? If I was a Christian and up in the church, and I was now, assistant minister of something, 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 they would love me. They would love me. Right? If I got me a little white girl, got married to a little white girl, and we moved to like JP or Cambridge or something like that, they would love me. Love me. But me just being regular Jamal from the hood with good sense and, I'm not with that. I'm just a regular dude. I'm not really with all the fancy frilly stuff and da-da-da-da. There's no place for that. Just being a regular, what people always said, like, yo, it's supposed to be the thing, like the stand-up guy. No, he's a stand-up dude. He's a solid dude. There's no rewards for that no more. There's targets for that. You get targeted for being a solid stand-up dude, not rewarded, not in this city. Okay? So, exactly, too. That's the other one. The black man went to jail. Yep, they love that one, too. They love that one, too. And not for nothing, too. We got to stop with these jail stories, y'all. So, for instance, like, I went to jail. I went to county jail in Atlanta. I did 6 months, right? What have you, 2 months in the county jail and then 4 months in a like a boot camp diversion center thing. The whole time I was there, I felt stupid. Well, because I got caught. And so, like, this whole thing of, like, yo, man, I did 10 years, and now, I'm really not into that. We need to stop celebrating doing bids. It's not cool. It's not nothing like, yo, whatever. That's not the wave. And it doesn't give you any other level of insight other than if you used all that time to read 8,000 books or whatever, then God bless you. That type of thing. You went to school and did this or whatever while you was in there, God bless you. You wrote a book while you was in there, God bless you. You did some healing on yourself and counseling and yoga, all that, God bless you. But just in general, how come a lot of cats, it's almost like you just get points because you did a bid. No, doesn't work like that. And for me, I don't know how cats grew up, but for me, we always looked at jail and prison as a failure. Like, you didn't want to get caught. You messed up. That's how you got caught. Something dumb happened. Nobody's like, yeah, that's the wave. Or at least when I was coming up, it was looked at as a bad thing. A failure, not a badge of honor, right? So in any event, let me get out of here. I'm all late for school. All right, y'all have a good one. Go be great today. Do something great today. Tell somebody you love them. Better yet, show somebody some love. Show some love to a youth or an elder. And as always, push through the pain to the power. And once again, keep thinking, y'all. Let's think. Black male leaders in Boston, by the criteria I gave you, with the infrastructure by which they are in leadership position. Not just, oh yeah, my man Frank, he's a leader. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Infrastructure that supports leadership. Name me that person. Any industry. All right? Y'all have a good one. Peace.